Homosexuals are inferior. The world works. The natural order of life goes on, but yet homosexuals are there to make the quality of life worse for the rest of us hard-working Americans. The only solution is... I'm sorry, I must be reading the wrong speech, because that speech that I just read to you was a speech given by a pastor in the civil rights movement. The only change I made was to swap the words colored people or black people with the words homosexuals. Yet I bet all of you thought I was serious. You see, that belief, that speech that I just gave isn't so far off in modern society. We see it on science, we see it on the news, we see it in our own cities, but there is no change. 6 states recognize gay couples, but the federal government does not. So when asked the question, should states legalize gay marriage, I say no. States shouldn't legalize gay marriage. The federal government should legalize gay marriage, because it is inevitable, it doesn't interfere with religion, and most importantly, it is the right thing to do. Now, my first point is that it is inevitable. According to the Pew Research Center, 87% of people under 18 support gay marriage. This tells us that it will get legalized eventually. We have a new era of new voters that are going to vote in support of gay marriage. It will be legalized. And the more we postpone it, the more we'll look back on it and feel ashamed. Because just as the civil rights movement, we look back on that time as an unnecessary time, a time that never should have had to happen. We look back on this time and think, why? Why did that have to happen? We live in a new era, where gay marriage is accepted. In this powerful incident, the Westboro Baptist Church picketed a funeral with the usual signs. Our troops die as punishment for gays. God hates gays. But in the midst of it all, a brave 3-year-old little boy grabbed his sketchbook and wrote in his own message, God hates no one. And he held that sign up. And in the midst of all the adults and all the protest, he was what drew attention. A little boy with a little sign and a big heart. Instead of God hates gays, he told everyone, God hates no one. In this sentence, he tells us more than a CNN or Fox News report ever could. There is a new era of acceptance. And either we accept it, or we don't. And the idea that we should let states decide, that the federal government shouldn't have to deal with it, is a cop-out. Just as Abraham Lincoln warned us that a house divided cannot stand, our current world tells us that we cannot hide behind the state's solution. We cannot say, just let states decide their own thing. When something is right, the federal government has a responsibility to endorse it. But that is not happening. This leads me to my second point, that it does not interfere with religion. When we hear about opposition to gay marriage, it's always because that God didn't like homosexuality. The church gives more money to anti-gay protests than any other organization. But I don't think this is necessary. I don't think it's true. One of my best friends is vegetarian. Her beliefs tell her that she cannot eat meat. I love meat. I'm not bound by those restrictions. But we can sit at the same table. She won't eat meat, and I will. And I won't tell her that she should eat meat, because I know that that is against her beliefs. And she doesn't tell me not to eat my meat, because she knows I'm okay with it. She knows that my beliefs don't tell me that it's wrong. This table represents America. People who don't believe in gay marriage don't have to take part in it. But they can sit at the same table as someone who does. Just because someone else is doing something that religion prohibits doesn't mean it's bad. 2 of the main religions, Judaism and Islam, permit pork. Yet still we eat pork in America. Mormonism and, once again, Islam permit alcohol. Yet we still drink alcohol in America. So why is it that our laws reflect Christianity? We are known for having a separation of church and state. Our church does not reflect our laws. But in this case, it does. And I don't think that's right. Which leads me directly to my third point, that above all, above any other argument, it is the right thing to do. 21 states allow you to marry your cousin. 6 allow you to marry someone of the same sex. Now some say that homosexuality is unnatural, that it shouldn't be allowed because it's not in the natural way of doing things. Well, let me tell you this. Almost 300 species homosexuality exists. Homophobia exists in only 1. and which one seems unnatural now. We the people of the United States once did not include women. Didn't include me. It once did not include races. Interracial marriage was prohibited. We are only free when all of our people are free. Now, in Uganda, they recently passed a law saying the punishment for gay marriage is death. This caused an uproar in America. We pointed our microscope at Uganda and said they're doing the wrong thing. But what's even harder, but even more important, is to turn that microscope around and to look at our own policies and our own attitude. How can we go up in a horror about how they don't protect gay marriage when we don't? And yes, we don't put gay people to death, that'd be terrible. But we don't exactly allow them to marry either. So we need to turn that microscope around and look at our own policies and realize that we need to do what is right. Over the past 2 years, 19 different countries have utilized the Arab Spring tactic as a way to institute democracies in their own country. But why did they do this? Why didn't they institute communism? Because they see how it works in America. They see that in America, we do what is right, despite all doubts. We take action, even when people look down on us. And that's what we need to do now. We were reminded of that little boy, with that little sign, who stood up to a group so much older than him, and in doing so told the world of history. It is a dream shared by Martin Luther King Jr., by Rosa Parks, by Sandra Day O'Connor, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, a dream that is woven in the fabric of America. It reminds us that we are not a perfect nation, but we become perfect when we stand up for what is right. And I urge you to stand up.